Education sure does not come cheap, or more specifically, an overseas university education isn't cheap. Thousands of pounds gone for a piece of paper, and I found myself having to work multiple part-time jobs just to pay for my day-to-day expenses. Really? Arguably, I could have learned a lot more by just going to Google or YouTube, or by going to a public library, or maybe by just getting an apprenticeship at a prestigious firm. And for many of us, our degree title might actually be irrelevant for our jobs, career, or even in real life. Or is it? Hey friends, welcome back to my YouTube channel. If you're new here, my name is Bianca, and today I'd like to share why I believe that attending university, at least for me, was actually a worthwhile investment after all, despite all the popular debates surrounding how our education system is flawed or even broken. In case you are new to this channel, I basically have had the privilege of studying at Imperial College London for 4 years, and 4 years is actually a pretty significant chunk of time. I am no economist, but quite literally, there are, I believe, huge opportunity costs that are associated with attending university. Come to think about it, we could have done quite a lot of other things in those years rather than pay up for lectures that we all know that we're all going to skip at some point, or even to just access learning material that we can pretty much very easily find on places like Google. Maybe for some of us, we could have actually become millionaires within those 4 years. So, to some extent, I would actually agree with the viewpoints set by some of the super successful as well as influential figures like Elon Musk on how university is really just for fun rather than for learning. Regardless, I still do think that your university experience is largely defined by how you choose to spend those years of your life. And for me personally, I would say that studying abroad for university has actually taught me a lot of intangible things that I would say has strongly shaped who I am today, hopefully for the better. So I'd like to talk about that in this week's video. So I'll have to put a disclaimer that this isn't a video where I'm advising on whether you should attend university or not, because in my honest opinion, tertiary education isn't exactly for everybody, but it is still a pretty worthwhile option to consider. Besides that, this also isn't the type of video where I attempt to settle the education system debate. So I would just strongly encourage you to just take this video as a sharing session by me, and there's just literally no right or wrong answer. Take what is useful for you and discard the rest. So the first and one of the most important points I have is that studying abroad for university has given me an exposure to different cultures and ways of life. I suppose a lot of it is really because university freshers, or basically first year students, are really just young adults, typically aged between 18 and 20. We are all just hoping to make friends and to have a good time. And well, the best way to make friends and have a good time is really just to keep an open mind, say hi, and just try to start an interesting banter on a topic you enjoy with a stranger. And for me, I would say that it is a pretty necessary experience, because prior to attending an international university, I would say that I am rather insensitive about my cultural heritage, and I simply accepted points of views based on where I happen to come from. So interacting with people from all parts of the world was an essential component for me to inform my point of view on different customs. And more importantly, I was pretty glad that it helped to challenge my assumptions, both good and bad, of other cultures and races. In hindsight, I was really living in a narrow lens of reality before attending university. My world was small. Therefore, I'm pretty grateful that my personal bubble was stretched because I attended university. Besides that, I would say that university is a pretty interesting place for me to have witnessed how different people approach their own lives, and I would say that this indirectly influenced me as to how I am approaching my own life at the moment. For instance, I used to actually believe that achieving good grades requires me to suffer a lot. I really thought that pain was inevitable and you really just got to grind through the work if you really want it. I give you the judgment, but that was true. Perhaps because university after all has been a pretty crazy roller coaster, right, in terms of workload and stress. But when I noticed how some of my friends from completely different backgrounds were actually scoring far better grades than me by just simply learning for the joy of learning, I started to rethink about my own attitude towards work. Like, hey, learning studying can actually be something fun rather than a chore. And that's actually a healthier and far more sustainable approach to managing the same type of stress that we all have. So studying abroad for university has actually helped to tweak some of my previous mindset on how I could just view and approach my own life. The second point I have is that university has basically acted as pretty much a relatively safe zone for me to just explore. Much of this can be attributed to university being fundamentally an artificial environment where just trying out new things and failing at them, if that really has to happen, has minimal negative consequences as opposed to just failing out big time in the real world. Basically, there was really nothing much to lose besides a little bit of time and, well, pride, I guess. So this actually became an incredibly valuable opportunity for me to just venture into loads of stuff. Whether it was trying out leadership roles in clubs when I actually struggle with social anxiety, attempting stage performance even though I was actually really afraid of being the center of attention, or trying out internships across different industries during my summer holidays as just a way for me to figure out what I might actually like working as. And I like to believe that I have had my fair share of successes and failures through each of these experiences. All of which I hope has actually helped to humble me as well as just pushed me to conquer a lot of the fears that I know has been holding me back. Other than that, the Safe Zone University offered gave me an important place to just ask loads and loads of questions. Probably a little too much, or at least I reckon I have annoyed a lot of my professors, teachers, mentors, friends, or seniors. Oops. But at least I managed to get away with a lot of it because I could just literally play the student card. Like, hey, just a student, just asking. For my final point, I would say that attending university has basically encouraged me to keep my passion. The reason for that is because I was lucky enough to have met many people who are just extremely passionate about this subject, and that also included my academic tutor. And I would say that all of these people have subtly influenced me to just aim to do things out of interest rather than worry too much about practicality. That might be a little bit of a youthful and idealistic statement, but I guess I would argue that it is kind of a necessity if we want to bring society a better future. Because at the end of the day, passion really gives you a good reason to just keep doing what you're doing every day, to keep learning, and to just keep striving for mastery. And the world will always need people who are experts at their topics. Whether it is to solve problems caused by flooding in Malaysia, just like how my friend Yi Hui hopes to do one day, or at least to just spread that same level of enthusiasm to the future generations so that we can bring in more talent into the picture. As I look back, I chose to study biochemistry because I have had a lot of positive influence from my biology and chemistry teachers back in school. They cared a lot for this subject, and I suppose some of that sunk into me. So I believe this is something that would happen to future students as well. With that, thank you so much for taking the time to watch my video. I hope I managed to show how studying abroad for university, or just attending university in general, was probably one of the best decisions that I've made, and I hope that it could have been a helpful guide for you as well. In the meantime, much love to you if you could just like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon if you're interested. I have actually just attended my university graduation ceremony at Royal Albert Hall, and I filmed my first ever vlog to just share how the experience was actually like. So if you're interested about how Imperial College London organizes their graduation, do consider checking my vlog out. Till then, take it easy there, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye bye!